Sorry, we had a little technical delay. Welcome to the Lunchbox. Woo woo! Lunchbox half hour, where we do the dirty work, blue collar, in the dirt. Our favorite tool is a shovel. Woo woo! Anyway, yeah, today we're going to talk about visualizing for victory. Woo woo. Anyway, yeah, I'm big about visualization. I'm a very visual person, and so I'm always like my wall is very visual for me. It's very visual, and I have my goals, my affirmations, people who inspire me up here. I'm constantly putting positive positive visions into my head. Woo woo. Yeah, I just watched a commercial. It was like showed how instead of like they were brainwashing you back in like the 70s or 80s, instead of saying pass the ketchup, they said pass the Heinz. And so that's what they kept saying in the Heinz commercial was, please pass the Heinz as you're passing the ketchup. They were brainwashing you to be, to pass the ketchup, so you're looking at you're watching this on TV. So that's what I have all this visualizing stuff on my head, because that's what I'm doing is brainwashing myself to be to get my goals and dreams. So, in my affirmations and everything's positive that's on my wall. Everything is positive, or it's a goal, it's a dream. And I just keep, I want to keep that positive attitude in my mind. I just watched a video on somebody and they were talking about like, once you keep putting positive stuff in your head, your reset mode becomes a positive thought. Like when you're sitting there just trying to, maybe you have an idle moment and your brain starts kind of churning for different things to think about. It goes, what positive thing could I think about rather than what negative problem is there out there? I'm not perfect at that. I'm like far from perfect, but I'm way better than I used to be. Way, way better. And it's because of this wall and, and the power, what we're talking about a little bit today is the visualization, like literally like, visualizing for victory. That's the title. Woo woo. Anyway, so when when I was just recently training to swim the English Channel, which I didn't quite make the qualifying swim. The 6-hour qualifying swim, I only made it 4 hours in San Francisco Bay at like 58 degrees. It still was a big deal to me, but I was a little too rushed on trying to get a 6-hour qualifying swim. I just wasn't fit enough for it, or mentally fit enough either, let alone physical. And so I didn't quite make it. But before, what I was doing was I was visualizing myself swimming the last bit into France, So I would swim the last, visualizing in my head, just swimming from the last feed. So we get a feed like every half hour from the last feed and making it to shore on France. And feeling my, as you're reaching out there, a lot of times the first thing that'll hit is your hand. So feeling my hand hitting the sand and then standing up, walking up. Real difficult to get your feet under you after that's like a 12 to 14 hour swim for me. Very difficult to get your feet under you. So I would, I'm walking to get up on shore. I mean, it's really, really a struggle. I've had where I've done a long swim in Hawaii, like a 6-hour, and I tried to get out of the water and I fell like 3 times. It was like, it looked like a comedy, you're trying to walk and I think the blood's out of your legs or something from, being like this for 6 hours, And so anyway, but I see myself making it and standing up on France and going, woo, woo, at my crew on the boat, feeling that feeling, not just, I'm feeling what it feels like to make it to France and to be looking out at your crew, and they're jumping up and down on the boat too, screaming, because everybody would know that it was my sixth attempt. And man, when you make it on your sixth attempt, it's going to be woo woo, double woo woo. Anyway, and so now today I also came up with another goal because I'm kind of cross training a little bit. I think we have 6 people on right now. That might be our record. Woo woo. I love records, just so you guys know. I'm big into records. Woo woo. Anyway, one of the things because I'm going to cross train right now. I really want to do other things besides just swim right now. So I'm going to do some running, which I was also I looked up running as cross training for swimming because I've done that in the past. But it's great for your cardiovascular, like really good for your cardiovascular. And then what it's also good for is like your core, because running, I never think about it, but it's like you keep your core up. You're using a lot of muscles there as you're running. You know what I mean? And so that helps keep you perpendicular in the water. You're not like bending all over the place and stuff. You're not slouching in the water, whatever you would do, or I would do. So anyway, so I was doing visualizations of that right before, before I ended up not making it. I ended up not making my 6 hour. And like I like to say, if I visualize it and I could feel it and do all that, I may not make it, but I'm definitely going to make it further than I would have if I hadn't done that stuff. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do, is even if you don't make it, keep visualizing, keep feeling it, keep doing it, and it drives you towards your training, So I came up with this goal, and I tried this maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I tried to break 6 minutes in the mile. I was a miler in high school. My best time was like a 4:43. I was a half miler also, half mile miler. I was like 5th in the county. Wasn't great, but I was okay, in the mile. And but a 6-minute mile in high school was easy, And so I think like, God, it would be kind of cool if I could do a 6-minute mile again. And I did. I guess the last one I did would have been, I don't know, like 15 years ago or something, And so it's a little ways away, but it's like, and I did like four 540, like I think I was shooting for 545s with 2-minute rest. So I did a set of 4 and, 545s with a 2-minute rest, and then did them like a set. And there's still something in my brain that says I could do a 6-minute mile with no problem. I go, it's easy peasy. Anyway, so I've just because while I'm doing cross training, my goal is eventually to be running one day, swimming the next, running one day, swimming the next. And I thought if I could shoot for a 6-minute mile or as close as I get to a 6-minute mile, I think the last time I got right around 7, might have dipped a little below, might have been a little bit above it, but right around 7-minute mile. And I ran out of time. My next race was coming up, and it was Arrowhead, 135 miles, and I didn't need to be doing such speed work for Arrowhead, since you're just dragging a sled 135 miles. But anyway, it was fun though, doing the training and working on that and getting, going out there and doing some speed work and getting it going. So today I started visualizing doing a 6-minute mile again. So I like that song by Queen, Under Pressure. I played that. I visualized in my very first triathlon that Under Pressure song long time ago. It was like a sprint triathlon. I don't know, maybe it was a little longer than a sprint. Close to the Olympic distance or international distance. But it wasn't a full, it was just it was close to that. Anyway, we'll just call it. So I visualized it. It was my first triathlon, and it was powerful. I thought it really helped me in that triathlon, getting used to, swimming and biking and running. And like I went through all the stages of feeling it, and feeling myself finishing the race. And I finished and I did, once I got out of the water, I did really good. I remember I hadn't swam much back then at all. I mean, I would just really learning to swim open water. That was I think one of my first open water swims. And I think there were like 50th in the race. And when I was coming to shore, I was like fifth to last in the swim, which probably isn't really that bad, but for a guy who was just starting up. But the announcer said, "Here comes one of the human buoys." I said, "Wow, I resemble that statement." But I was able to get out and I really hauled ass on the bike and the run because I was racing crit races back then. And I had my running background from high school, still in there. And I'd done some running a few years earlier. But anyway, I visualized it, and it was powerful. You know what I mean? When you get out there and you go, yeah, I saw myself doing this, And so today I just did my first little jog run. I'm not running very fast at all. I was hurt for like a year and a half for running hurt. I was able to do other things. And I've been swimming mostly for a year and a half, but I'd hurt my knee, but it feels pretty good now. I did knees over toes guy stuff and rehabbed it. So somebody had a question here. Let me see. Oh, great. Okay, thanks. Woo, woo. Let's see what, Jesse, what's the hardest part about holding a vision of success when you're in the middle of training for an event? I think you just have to stay positive in your mind. And I'm not saying when I'm out there in the middle of Arrowhead in the middle of the night, and it's cold, it's so cold. It's like everybody walks around, at least the people around me are walking around like zombies. Nobody talks. It's so cold, you're just doing this zombie walk. I'm not going to say I'm doing a lot of visualizing then. I'm just in the moment. I'm just trying to keep moving. I think the visualization for me all comes in the beginning. It's all before the race. I don't really do much during the race. In the race, I'm just trying to be in the moment, just keep moving. Hopefully that, the visualization I did ahead of time is what I'm in the groove on, you know what I mean? I'm feeling it. And I've done it before in my head. So if you've done it before in your head and you can really make yourself feel it, your brain feels like you could definitely do it again. So so it's more of a feeling, I guess, when I'm out there, if I've done a lot of visualization before. When you picture victory in your mind, what does it look like for you personally? So for me, for me, I'm really picturing finishing. These long events, it's one thing to visualize running a 6-minute mile around the track. It's another thing to visualize a 60-hour race like Arrowhead's cutoff is. So I kind of just visualize the finish, And if anybody has any other suggestions for me on that, how they visualize these endurance races that are multi-day, and what kind of how they do it in their mind, and if they do it, if they do longer ones and see themselves, going through the whole, I don't know. Anyway, I mean, for me, I can't quite do it that long, so I just visualize at the end. I like doing my visualizations like 5 or 10 minutes, and then and sometimes I repeat them. But that's like as long as I feel good about doing them, Other than that, I might, I don't know. That's just all I do. Do you believe that victory should be felt in the body before it's achieved in reality? I think I think you should. That's what you should be doing. I don't know if you listen to Olympians, and I try to listen to people who are really, really good at what they do. I mean, I spent a lot of time watching, YouTube videos of people who are great. I want that to sink into my mind. But I know like gymnasts and stuff will just keep visualizing doing their routine over and over and over again. And I know I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she won the 200 at the Olympics, right? You know, and for America. And she was talking about that she visualized that race over and over and over again, you know. So she just kept seeing it in her head and seeing herself winning, I believe. She must have because she won. So that's what I think. It's just powerful. The more you can do it, it's just adding to your training. So you're doing the physical, you got to do the physical work too. You can't just do the visualization, but it adds to your training and, you know, doing the visualization and then feeling yourself making that goal. Whatever your goal is, you're making it and you're feeling what it feels like in your body to get it in there, you know. So I'm doing that now with these 6 minute mile, the 6 minute mile visualization. I did like 3 of them because the under pressure song's like 4 minutes. So I just closed my eyes and felt myself going around the track, and I'd come around the track one time, look at my watch, 1:30, and then, which is on pace for a 6 minute mile. Then I come around the second time, 3 minutes. Then I come around the third time, look at my watch again, 4:30, come around the fourth time, and I sprint at the end and get a 5:59. Woo woo! Under the 6 minute with a second to spare. Woo woo! Does anybody else have anything there, a race or something they're doing that they're visualizing that themselves and how exactly they do that visualization if they want to share right now? Francisco Garcia said hi. Woo woo! Great. Hi back, Francisco. If I'm saying that right. Apologize if I'm not. Anyway, Francisco, any big races coming up? Woo woo! I like people at the gym. I remember I was walking down the gym and I was talking to, you know, asking people what they're training for, and some guy looked at me and goes, Bradley, don't you ever ask anybody anything but what they're training for? I go, probably not. That's my thing is what you're training for. Any race, any goal, anything cool that you're doing. There's a guy at our gym. I love people that are doing or have done, you know, extreme stuff. That's my thing is extreme stuff. And there's a guy at our pool. I go, dude, we have such, you know, I'm at the Bay Club up here and in Marin, and there's just like a lot of really good athletes here. And I was asking in the sauna, I said, you know, there's a lot, I just said what I just told you guys, a lot of good athletes. I go, dude, have you done anything extreme or anything or anything you're really good at? He goes, well, Bill, I used to dive at Marine World, and I would he'd dive in, I don't know, they didn't have the whale thing going at the time. So they had divers going. I guess this was in 2008, 2009. And he would dive off 120 feet up in the air, 120 feet up in the air. He would go down into the pool, you know, and he said it was like salt water and, you know, so that's harder to hit than regular water because it's for the whales, I guess, you know. And I was like, wow, man, I got to keep asking people if they're good at anything or have been good at anything because it's really cool when you run into the guys because I get all like, my eyeballs get all big. I'm like, I get all fired up about that because I couldn't even imagine. He says the scariest part and where you're in the most danger is when you're climbing up the ladder because it's like, it gets really skinny at the top of those things, you know? Anyway, anybody got anything they want to share that they've done that's extreme that maybe they had to visualize? You know, like I'm sure he was visualizing his jumps off that frickin', off that 120-foot board up there. Anyway, so my 6 minute mile is what I'm working on right now. I a lot of times at Arrowhead, I would do the visualization and I would just see me finishing, you know. All I want to do is, I haven't made it. I've taken 12 attempts at the Arrowhead 135, one of the toughest races in the world. You got to go 135 miles and you pull a 40-pound sled with your survival gear. And so I would just see myself finishing and feel what it feels like to hit like, you know, 59 hours and 59 minutes or what is Arrowhead's cutoff? It's maybe it's 7. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's I don't know. Anyway, I can't even remember what it is off the top of my head. But I would see myself finishing just under the cutoff. I think it's like 2.5 days. So whatever that is, 60 hours. So I'd see myself at 59, 59, 59. Woo woo. That's all it takes. But like I said, I haven't finished Arrowhead. But I'll tell you one thing: I've made it further because of this visualization, I believe, than what I would have. So the visualizing's worth it no matter what. And if you can keep growing that confidence inside of you, because what you keep putting in, I really, really believe this. I've heard this before. What you keep putting in is what eventually starts coming out. So if you're putting positive thoughts and feeling yourself finishing things, eventually I'm going to finish Arrowhead. Woo, woo. I am not going to do a 120-foot dive at Marine World, though, into a little freaking tank. Woo, woo. That you can take to well, don't take it to the bank, because I might get a wild hair and do it one day. They go, who is that guy snuck in there? When doubt and negative races try to cloud your vision, what practices help you hold the picture of victory in your head? I think that what I do when I start getting negative thoughts in my head, I don't know if it's a vision as much as I start doing my mantras and try and crowd out the negative thoughts. I'm just trying to crowd them out. So I'm like, and I like, I always think of when the first time I went to Death Valley, because I was just talking to a guy who I go to the sauna with. I've been sauning with this guy, and he can last a long time in the sauna. I'm really into like how long I can last in the sauna. I love that stuff. How long can you torture yourself? And anyway, this guy, he's really good in the sauna, but he says he went to like yoga, and it was a hot yoga, and he had a hard time. And it's because, like, when I was good in the sauna, and I went to my first Badwater race, you're moving, and when you're moving, it was like I was getting nauseous, I was just getting sick feeling, and all this stuff because I was in my fur, because I was moving, and all I'd done is sit in the heat. So, but anyway, I think that we got 7 people on. This is huge. 7 is a lucky number I used to play craps when I was younger, till I lost my ass, and now I don't play craps anymore. But I think we just hit 8. Woo woo. Anyway, the visualization victory. So if you're doing what I recommend, if you're doing a short race, a short event, you visualize the whole thing. You play it to music that motivates you. Might be Rocky music, because I've used Rocky in the past. I've used Rudy music, the football movie where the underdog. I love that movie. And then I've also used the Under Pressure, and I think the more you do it, the better. If you want to sit there and do it for, I thought, I've heard back in the day, people can do it for a long time, like an hour or more. And hopefully they win the gold if they do it that long. So yeah, I'm not doing it that long. I'm doing 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. If it's a short race, like trying to run a 6-minute mile, I'm seeing the whole 6-minute mile and me finishing, and I'll do it multiple times, and making my 5:59. And then if I'm doing a big event, I'm just watching the finish. You know what I mean? I'm seeing me finishing and hitting that time in my head. And I might go through, in my head, going through a checkpoint, going through an aid station, things like that. I might get in there and get that in there too, in my visualization. But it's just everything's quicker because it's a 60-hour cutoff, so it's really long event. But I just try and hit it, and I'm not perfect at it. So everything for me is a work in progress. I'm always just trying to get a little better all the time. Let's see what else we got here. If you know you couldn't fail, what vision would you dare to hold? I think for anybody, for me, right now, my next big event is the English Channel. And then, like a little mini event or smaller goal is to do a 6 minute mile. And so, I would, whatever your goal or your event is, I would visualize if it's a big one, finishing, see yourself finishing, crossing the finish line, see your exact time. You're celebrating. If you got a crew or friends there, you're celebrating with them, and you just feel the joy that all this hard training you did, it worked out, and you freaking made it. You made it, and you finished, and you're in joy, and so you're putting that in your subconscious mind. There's a lot of joy when I finish. There's going to be a lot of joy when I finish. So that's what I'm reckoning. Oh, how many yards did I swim today? Right now, I might swim later this week. I didn't swim today. I did a run. I've been cross training. That's my buddy, Lentil Clouds Power. Woo woo. Do you think visualization is a private practice, or should it be shared with others and given more power? I don't know. I mean, I went to a Joe Dispenza, seminar. I don't remember how many people were there, but it was a lot. The auditorium was packed. And we did visualizations there. He's big into that, running through, your meditation with visualizations in it. And I did that. And it's powerful with the energy of everybody there. But I think a lot of us are seeing our own things in our head. It's whatever our goal is, or whatever we're doing to visualize. And, it's just miracles can happen if you get real strong at visualizing and feel things, feel yourself doing things, So keep an eye out for that 6 minute mile. Woo, woo. And swim into France. Woo, woo. All right. Well, anyway, I think we're out of time. So anyway, this is the Lunch Pail half hour signing off. Woo, woo.